This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
From the Grand Prix Strecke version of the Nürburgring, it's the Global SimRacing Channel's final round coverage of the Absolute Beginner League's Formula Neagle Season 16 Championship. Hey, it's Senior Ditch Day in the AVL. All the tests have been taken, scores have been graded and calculated, all the diplomas have been printed, so blow off school. With third-degree burns has locked up the championship, and he and his two Stukadob teammate Vincent Bream have clinched the team title. And to make matters even less stressful, most of the lower rungs on the ladder have been secured as well. So put those fake IDs to work and buy yourself a 6-pack of Zima, put a Sealy Dan 8-track in the tape deck, and let's have some fun. You can watch all the pressure-free simulated Dallara Formula 3 action from green flag to Victory Donuts live as it happens right here on the Global SimRacing Channel via the iRacing Esports Network. Be it Austrian or Australian, everybody's a Mexican today. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Way up in the press box to bring you our Word's Eye view is yours truly, Bill Soups On, joined by a man who brought a shovel to school for Senior Ditch Day, Justin Prince. Down in the production van enjoying a salted rim of a virgin margarita is our director, Sean Ambrose, armed with cameras provided by Diego Barba. Justin, when Peggy, the GSRC travel secretary, handed me my virtual plane ticket and it said Nürburgring, I got nervous, but she quickly calmed my fears, letting me know it's not the Nordschleife, but rather the much more traditional-sized Grand Prix Strecke that is the configuration of choice today.
Indeed it is, Sue. Prior to 1984, the open-wheel series such as Formula 1 ran that Nordschleife course. However, after multiple tragic and fatal accidents, the safer Grand Prix Strecke circuit was constructed and completed by 1984. Today, this 3.2-mile/5.1 kilometer circuit features a mix of long sweeping turns and tight, low-speed chicanes that will test the abilities of even the best of drivers from start to finish. Back in 2013, Lewis Hamilton once said this track was one of the classics. It hasn't lost that feel of an old classic circuit. It includes very little passing zones similar to what we've seen for the classic circuits of the time, including in the Hoghacken, as well as passing zones coming into the Coca-Cola curve potentially or the Dunlop curve today. The question is, which drivers will be able to test and pass the set test of this old school circuit? Let's take a look at our GSRC lap guide to find out for today's action in here at the GP-Strecke circuit here in beautiful Germany.
All right, we've got Phil Lake in the GSRC Formula 3, so let's do a lap around the Nürburgring. Expect the Haucook to be one of the more common places to overtake. It's a long straight into one of the heaviest braking zones on the circuit. The catch is that it's so tight through here, drivers often trip over each other when they lose sight of what line their opponents are taking. After that, you're into the Mercedes Arena. This newest addition to the circuit is mostly slow corners, so expect it to be mainly single file. You really need patience through this fiddly little section because you can rack up off tracks incredibly easily. Out of the chicane, you finally return to the main course. While you will pick up speed on your run down to Valvoline, this plunging left-hander is quicker than you'd expect. Passing is sort of rare into this turn. Plus, it's better if you stay hugged to the left side to set up for forward. This is ideally where you should put your focus on because the exit can either set you up for a pass or make you vulnerable to one. You continue to drop tons of elevation all the way down to the Dunlop hairpin. This is a much more likely place to see attempts at an overtake. Even still, drivers might find it hard to seal the deal. From off the corner, you'll switch sides quickly so that you can swing through the Schumacher S. You might need a little breathe on the throttle, so any too wide situations are going to cost both of you gobs of time. Then you're flying towards Michelin. If you are able to hold close to the car ahead through the fast corners, you've got a chance to try and pass into here. However, it's better to keep from swinging too wide to help your line through Bilstein. This right-hander is all important because of the long uphill stretch that comes after it. Some slipstreaming might occur, and once you hit the braking for the Vidal chicane, don't be surprised if someone goes on the attack. But try not to stay wheel to wheel because it's tight and these curbs are very tall. After that, you get a short burst up to Coca-Cola. This is a long hairpin that rewards a late apex with it leading back onto the pit straight. Avoid a poor exit so that you don't have your opponents breathing down your neck back to the first turn. But hopefully, if you've kept it all together, you've now finished a lap around the Nürburgring.
When Carly Simon sang "Nobody Does It Better," she had to have Joe Peak on her mind, talking and taking the viewer around a road course, this time the GP-Strecke here at the Nürburgring. All right, I'm going to try to take you a lap around. I'm going to do it in the points. Now, this is going to be kind of easy as everything's pretty much locked in. There he is, David Third Degree Burns. He has the second most career starts in Formula Neagle of any driver, getting his first championship in season 16. Congratulations to him. He's racing for fun today. How about the performance this season of Ludwig Sauer as he is up a spot into second? He does way too far back to catch Burns. In jeopardy, though, of maybe falling a few back to Yalo Valverde. It's good to see the Portuguese driver here with us. Dennis Garrison, who finished runner-up last season to Alex Janssen, is back, and he has made our overlay one more time, up 2 spots. And then there's this guy, fan favorite, the American John Morgan, Mr. Clean, very impressive, with a legitimate chance at a possible podium come season's end. Let's go down and look at the F2 standings. Now, you saw Ludwig Sauer. He sits second in the F1 standings. You would think he'd be up on the top of the F2, and certain enough, he is there. Now, remember, F2 championships are scored separately, so that's why John Morgan, who is 5th overall, is still behind some of those other drivers like Michael Hofladezen and Lance Simon there. A nice little battle between Simon and Morgan, the 2 American drivers, for that final podium spot in the F2 standings. And then, of course, there is the Strudelmeister back there, Thomas Kick in 5th. Finally, let's look at the team championship. And this is 2 stupid dogs all the way through. It's Vincent Bream and David Third Degree Burns. Those guys have been together for the longest of time. 73 points ahead of NHR Esports. Team Talent making a run. Am Racing Team, boy, they look competitive there with the Strudelmeister and Hofladezen, but they have fallen on bad times lately. They continue to fall. They'll be lucky to be on the graphic come the end of the season. Virtual Motorsports, the solo effort by Dennis Garrison. So there are your 3 championships. Really not a whole lot at stake right now. So it's going to be a fun race. Let's go ahead and look at the event details. That's always pretty much the same, but we're always picking up new viewers. So, Justin, you want to walk us through that?
Yes, indeed. We're in the 16th season, of course, of Absolute Beginners, with the season finale, of course, being this afternoon. Round 7 of 7 as well on the season today, but no drops for the drivers on the schedule for hopes of the championship. The race distance is 60 minutes today. The estimated lap distance is give or take 32 to 33 laps around that window today. It is also an open setup series. However, there is reduced fuel, about 39% to be exact. That means there is an estimated 2 pit stops. However, a lot of drivers might try and stretch it to a splash and go towards the end of today's race. There's also an incident cap on the track today of 24, and with a lot of runoff space as we do and a lot of grass around the track, there is a lot of chances to add 1Xs all throughout the track today.
It's a beautiful sound of music-like day here in Germany. The hills are alive with the sounds of race car engines. Let's go ahead and look at the weather and see what Mr. Prince has to say about that.
Yes, let's take a look at said weather. 72 degrees Fahrenheit. It's actually just starting to get cloudy across the racetrack as we discuss this at a track temp at 95 degrees Fahrenheit for qualifying. Winds are currently going southwest at 4 miles per hour with a pretty high humidity of 60% at the moment. 28 inches of HG rising humidity as well on the track today, so it's fairly humid, but also fairly cool on the track. But look on the bright side. In real life, it is snowing right now. It wouldn't be easy to drive these things in snow, but of course, snow is not on the surface quite yet. These drivers will not have to deal with that, they'll just have to deal with the clouds all throughout the various different parts of the track today.
Every day's a no-snow day in the virtual universe of iRacing. Qualifying going on right now. We're going to reintroduce ourselves here as we had a little wrong graphic up there. One more time, it is myself, Bill Suzanne, and there he is, Justin Prince. Look at that handsome guy sitting up there, upper right corner.
Yeah, thank you. Kind of joked a little bit about me being Adam today, essentially turning into Adam. But it's a heck of a race today. Either way, while the championship may be secured, there's still drivers that are going to be fighting for a chance to get a victory today and try and have a strong showing to end off the momentum, including guys like the driver we're following on with, and Janssen currently second on the qualifying board.
Alex Janssen, your defending champion. Boy, I'm gonna really go deep on this reference here. If you're a American Graffiti fan, that's a movie from like 45 years ago. He's kind of the John Milner of this race today. The old guy coming back, the guy who's graduated from school, but he still has the fastest car in town, coming back to show David Burns who's still the best. Our director says nobody will get a John Milner American Graffiti reference. Justin, have you ever seen American Graffiti?
I honestly didn't know it was a movie until I was watching Simpson references from Canada and seeing there was a Canadian graffiti joke. I'm being serious here. But also being serious are some of the drivers today, including guys like Lance Simon that are trying to improve on their practice pace. He's 4 seconds off the nearest car, but all it takes is one driver to try and slipstream off down the straights to improve that. The downside is, though, that also affects the ability to handle the corners.
There's Frederick Neptune. Still looking to put in his first successful orbit around this track. 13 drivers have qualified. Frederick Neptune and Edwin Sanginelli still yet to put in time. Not sure if Sanginelli's going to race with it. Here comes Neptune. And that one's going to count. He puts himself in the Baker's Dozens position. Down there in 13 ahead of Lance Simon.
Not bad of it.
Go ahead, Justin.
Not bad. I was going to say it's not bad of a lap time right now, but you can see how he's taking some of the corners like turn 1. So he might be able to take a little bit deeper to gain some extra time at some parts, but I think he's trying to be a little more conservative and make sure the laps count. And you can see some of the difference compared to Fabian Janboet behind. Well, Janssen, mind you, he's had another purple lap time in qualifying, his second straight fastest time of the session. Crashed on the track, though, in front of him. Janboet has just smacked the wall.
That lap will not count. Alex Janssen, the Swede with speed, sitting on the top. We look at Ludwig Sauer having the best season of his absolute beginner league career. My goodness, he's been impressive, sits second in the points. From the very early seasons of the ABL is Wojciech Podolsek. He sits down there in 8th right now. A nice battle to watch out for. And there's the French driver, David Boutelard, on screen. Boutelard sitting in 7th, looking to better his time. A nice battle to watch out for will be the battle between the 177 and the 04. That's John Morgan. John Morgan's out there on the track right now. He qualified in 12th. And Lance Simon, who's put his car in the pits. He's qualified in 14th. Why do we care about that? It's for the final podium on the F2 Championship. They are both tied, so whoever finishes ahead of the other will get the win on that one. We look at Boutelard. And now we'll jump over to Vincent Bream, teammate of David Third Degree Burns. Burns sitting in 3rd. Bream sitting up in 2nd. This is a hot lap. Not sure if he's going to have anything for the Swede with speed. We'll see. He needs to pick up about 0.2 of a second.
He did have to check up on this lap, though, for Janboet at one point. We'll see. This time, no, is the answer on 149.1.
A driver that's not out there right now, but we have to keep an eye on him. We've seen him race before, is Loic Barbie. He's really good. The 862. He's confident with his time. Got it in pit lane right now. back to Ludwig Sauer. Sitting in ninth. Boy, he would like to do a little bit better than that if he could. Sitting in the back half of your field. Coming across the line. Get a 151 flat. And he knocks off a couple tenths of a second, but it doesn't move him up anymore. He's still behind Potocek. And that's just about the end of qualifying with a field of 14 here. I'm going to take the first 4 rows and leave the rest of the grid to my partner. It is the Swede with speed, Alec Jansson, on the pole. He's going to be inside of Vincent Bream. There's our graphic. Okay.
Yes, indeed.
David Third Degree Burns is in third. Loic Barbie behind him. Fabian Youngbluth and Diogo Francisco, the Portuguese driver, in 6th. I'll take 2 more. David Butalar and Wojciech Podosiak. Good to see him back. Goes 7th and 8th. Justin?
Ludwig Sauer is currently in the 9th position on the board with Franz Josef Sturm in the 10th position. Ricard Colom will start off 11th as he has finished off his times with John Morgan in the 12th position. Frederick Neptune starts off 13th with Edgar Santarelli in the 14th position. Last on the qualifying board today, Lance Simon. Should note there are a couple drivers that can attempt to complete their time in the next 90 seconds. However, just 2 drivers are on the circuit, and right now both of them do not appear to be in line to bump up their spots on the grid.
Looks like I took us to the grid a little bit early there, but we get that out of the way. It gives us a little more time to fill. We don't think much is going to change. They get their laps in. I think this is probably really set.
Yes, it is set now because both of them have just crossed the line, and neither of them were able to actually improve on those said times on the circuit. So everyone's all set to go. They got another minute and 10 seconds before they jump onto the grid, but it's going to be a chaotic race today, especially into that first corner, because there have been a lot of cases at this circuit where you see drivers dive bomb into the opening corner to try and gain positions and then defend those spots as the race goes on. It's going to be very chaotic to start off, but I think it's going to be coming down to who's able to save the tires a little bit at the start, to be able to pull away at the end, and be able to maintain the best strategy while keeping the car clean and on the track.
This is our final broadcast this season of the Formula Neagle. Of course, they're wrapping it up. Short seasons of only 7 rounds means we get championships really quickly. Hopefully we'll be back for a season 17. We are going to be back, though, sometime for the ABL as they have their Race of Champions. We'll have more information about that when the news comes in. They're still debating what cars and what tracks to use. That's always a fun event. If you haven't seen one of those, you do not want to miss it. Your lead commentator right now with the case of the hiccups, but that's not going to stop me because I'm a professional and I can handle whatever obstacles are thrown before me. Look at that there. Remember, we are on, you see iRacing.com right there. We're on the iRacing Esports Network. And let me talk to you a little bit about that. The best of the best in the iRacing world on their World Championships, as well as private leagues like the one you're watching right now, are showcased right here on the iRacing Esports Network. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe. GSRC is proud to be part of the IESN stable of broadcasters. And quite a stable that they have.
Yeah, some great broadcasts on the iRacing Esports Network throughout the entire week, 7 days a week by the various different broadcasters. It's great to be a part of such a great network of the top tier of broadcasters in all of the service.
All right, the Swede with speed sits on the pole. Vincent Bream, a surprisingly fast qualifying time in 2nd. David Third Degree Burns out there in 3rd. Now, he's your championship. He's your champion. He would really like to get the best of Alex Jansson if he could, to prove that he is indeed the champion and didn't just win it because of Jansson's absence. Why wasn't Alex here this season, you might ask? Well, if you didn't know, he's been building a racing rig, working on a custom set of pedals that he's building himself. Can't wait to see how that turns out. Watch out for this. This is a driver, car number 862. I talked about it before. He's exciting. Loic Barbie. He's on the inside of row 2. I'm sorry, the outside of row 2. He is surprisingly quick. Fabian Youngbluth is a veteran of the series, sitting in 5th. Diogo Francisco, the Portuguese driver, has many wins under his belt back there in 6th. The engines start to harmonize. You know what to do for the final time this season. Gather up the chicken steak coming out of the cows. The horses are out of the barn. Alex Janssen pulls in front of Vincent Bream to secure that first position. Burns is in third, taking the wide line. He'll have a good drive off of that. They are 2 by 2 behind. A spinning car. That is Fabian Lungview. He spins right in front of Ludwig Sauer. Sauer gets on the binders, so he doesn't get into the back of Youngbluth, but that breaks a big gap behind Ricard Colomb in 7th.
And that could have been nearly disaster. Youngbluth just avoided getting significant backwing damage. He did bend it a slight touch from a very small touch, I think, from Sauer. However, I think it is manageable, at least until the first pit stops, and did lose some time. Now Sauer losing some time behind as well as they try and battle behind him with Strom as well as Neptune in this first lap already.
When actions allows, we'll come back and review that first lap incident. Right now, we see the drivers negotiating this first lap. It is Janssen, Bream, Burns, Barbie, Francisco, and Putelar. The top 6 drivers, they start to pull away. Ricard Colomb doing his best to hang on to the back of them. The back of your field, Youngbluth, Sauer, Strum, Neptune, Morgan, Sancinelli, and Simon.
Clean start for the top part of the field for sure already, and able to pull away quickly with that clean air Janssen. Now, though, he's got to feel the pressure, though, from David Burns because, of course, secure that championship. The thing that's going to help him, though, Barb is going to try and take it to the outside line, but it's squeezed off the racing line by Burns with a hard break.
No room for Loic to get that spot in there. All this going on behind the defending champion, Alex Janssen. We ride on board with Third Degree, looking back at Barbie, looking over Burns' right, what would that be, his rear right tire. Here comes another pass. Barbie making the move on the inside this time, going into 1. Burns has nothing for him. They're side by side in. They close in behind Bream. Bream is far enough ahead. Give Barbie third position.
And good move there to use the slipstream from behind that you can utilize with these Formula 3 cars if you time it up right to be able to get the quick pass. However, the more, say, if he gets the draft back, Burns does, that they battle, the more they'll end up losing time. It looks like Barbie, though, is starting to get that slipstream from Brem to pull away from the R2 drivers behind.
Alex Janssen gets credit with leading lap number 1. He's the defending champion, could not race a full schedule, a full slate of races this time to defend that championship. That's going to go to David Third Degree Burns, but Janssen is back to say, don't forget about me. Of course, we'll have a new season coming up soon. Hopefully, Alex can make a full assault on that championship. Bream in second. Barbie, Burns, and Francisco. Let's go back to 7th position. This is Ricard Colomb. Here comes Fabian Youngbluth. Youngbluth, of course, suffered from that early first lap slowdown there. He's got a good run now, and as he moves to the outside, let's see what he can do on Colomb.
And it looks like much more confident on the brakes than that time. Colomb, knowing he was a little bit faster, just let him on by. In practice there, he was about half a second quicker. Youngbluth was in his fastest, quickest time, and qualifying a full 2 seconds plus quicker. Making a smart move, not going to fight it too much, just run his own pace and try and finish the best he can at this point.
With that said, let's jump back up to 4th position. We just saw Burns lose a spot to Barbie. Here comes Diogo Francisco. Francisco has a handful of career wins already. He'd like to get one more today. He's got a good run on Burns. Might be too far back to make the attack into corner number 1. This is Yokohama. This is the passing zone that seems to be the preferred spot. Nobody's going to make it right now. These guys race about a second behind Vincent Bream in second.
Yeah, they're all running about the same pace right now. It's just the position of where they are on the racetrack from the said start that is so key with these cars. Whereas right now at this point, they're all just running their own race. Burns gonna get some luck though as Barbie got loose.
A mistake from Loic Barbie. He's gonna lose 1 spot to Burns. Francisco says, I would like to get in here as well. He takes advantage of the loss of momentum. Loic fighting back, though. Barbie wants that spot. They go side by side. Now it's a drag race down into the Dunlop curve, and it's going to go to Francisco.
And you see those curbs that are along the sides of the racetrack? If you bump those at a wrong spot on the track, you'll have what happened to Barbie heading out of the Mercedes arena. That was what caught him loose and why he lost so much time trying to gather the car back up and gather the speed as well. It's going to take some time to recover those spots on back, and allows Boudelard, who had lost a lot of time in the last NGK chicane, to try and come back into this battle.
You see those 4 cars on screen. That is Boudelard, the last one back there. We look at Barbie. Boudelard not on your picture right now. He's Rudolph. They won't let him play in any reindeer games right now. It's a battle between Burns, Francisco, and Barbie. Boudelard trying to catch up and having some fun. Good race going on. We ride on board with Barbie, looking up at the 2 drivers ahead of him. Francisco all in the back of the gearbox of David. 3rd-degree Burns right now as they come across to complete what will be lap number 3.
Yeah, they have an estimated 30 laps to go on the time. However, of course, it is an estimated 2-stopper. Here comes that drive.
And he got him. Francisco on the inside. I think he'll be able to finish the job. It wasn't that long ago. He's back here. He's loose. That's going to open the door for some momentum from Burns, but nope. Burns cannot capitalize. Francisco gets the thing going. Both of those drivers slow down. That opens the door for Barbie to make a run. And here comes Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, David Boudelard, finally going to get into the mix here with all the nonsense going on between Francisco, Burns, and Barbie. Boudelard going to get to play.
And Boudelard, while he's not as good on corner exit, he's been very strong on his corner entries, late braking much later than everyone else in front of him to gain some of the time back. And it's starting to work because of all this battling that I talked about. If you battle too much, you can lose a ton of time, and that's why these guys are already 4+ seconds back, with 5 seconds already behind the race lead as they try and sort themselves out for 3rd.
The forgotten driver is Vincent Bream, who races in 2nd. 2.7 seconds behind the leader, but since he doesn't have any nonsense to worry about, even though he may not have the pace of Francisco or Burns, although he qualified really well in 2nd, he can race a nice clean race out there, smooth as blended whiskey right now, just hitting his marks and keeping the distance. Look at that. You look at Brim, the hounds are after the hares. The question is, will the chef be cooking up the Hoffenpfeffer before the end of the race? See a little German reference there, as we are in Germany.
Take a look at Boudelard, meanwhile, as you see from the suspension, having it bounce around a little bit, but you see how he's trying to take these corners, staying away from the outside, the inside curves, especially in the right-handers to me, to try and make sure he doesn't end up burning up the equipment or end up risking losing the car overall, and just trying to, I think, take it as safe as he can, as clean as he can.
Let's go to 10th.
Follow the tar track.
Here's a pass. This is Ricard Colomb, Mr. Clean. This is John Morgan. Morgan, if he makes this pass, he will do it without causing a problem. And he is through. Move John Morgan up into 10th position. Next up for him, FJS, Franz Josef Stum.
And the difference in terms of time for them was 4/10 slower actually for Morgan. However, when you look at Morgan's overall pace, before that pass, he was still running around the 151.5s just about every single time on average. There's a chance he can try and reel him if he times it up, because Strum is starting to fall back to that said pace that we're seeing from Morgan. And it looks like, remember Colomb? He has spun off the racetrack into the tires.
Oh, and then he sweeps across the track and goes on the inside of it. He hits a little bit of the nose into the wall. See, he was behind Mr. Clean, and he didn't learn anything from following John Morgan.
Yeah, that's something I discussed a little bit in qualifying. If you fall behind someone, you can get more speed in the corners, yes, but it ends up causing a little bit of an aero issue where it can get loose, or in that case, get tight where it goes across the rumble strips and shoots him hard right into the tire barriers. And unfortunately, that's going to add some wing damage that he's going to have to potentially deal with until he can get the new wing in the first pit stop.
We come back to the Canadian driver. We were talking about how clean John Morgan is. Well, here's a number for you that I don't think I've ever used on a broadcast. Incidents per corner, 0.002. I'm not sure what that really means, but man, it sounds really, really small.
That is really good, actually. I'm glad you brought that up, because usually at a lot of tracks you see, for some drivers, it's actually fairly high. More so the race points than the corner points are brought up, yes. However, that's thought of to where he doesn't get a lot of incident points where he clips the grass, ends up going in overusing the track limits that put him at risk of, say, disqualification. That can be extremely key. Some drivers actually push themselves higher up. Guys like, for example, David Burns had a 0.010 incident per corner limit. That's about, on average, every 10th corner he got 1 incident point, for example.
We look at third degree burns. You know, you and I are both North American commentators here. This series is really at a good time slot for North American drivers. Alex Johnson must have just had an issue. Let's go to the lead. He's under attack from Vincent Brame. Brame is all over him.
He definitely had the issue, and this is why he has the door open up for Brame. He had a 360 move to be able to save it, but now he's going to feel the pressure because of that huge mistake. Plus, there's the risk of overheating the tires because of that set spin.
Oh, we're going to see if we can get a replay of this one. This one is fun. We're going to look at it right now. I think Johnson is safe in the lead. I promised myself I wasn't going to dip too far back in the Wayback Machine for references, but this is Danny Sullivan's spin to win here. Look at how smooth this one is. Whee! And we go. Oh my goodness, that is Olympian spinning.
And 9 times out of 10, you end up hitting the gas too hard. It's snapping even more and not be able to recover. He was able to get just at the right spot to get back on the gas without losing the back end. However, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to hang onto the car the rest of the run until we can cool these tires off with these slicks.
I got to figure the rubber's not happy about that maneuver. Vincent Brame, again, we talked about him. He's just being back there hitting his marks. Smooth as dolphin skin is Vincent Brame right now, and he's just 0.4 of a second behind the Swede with speed. And also, here comes the guy from Portugal, Diogo Francisco. He's left all of his friends behind. Burns, Barbie, and Butalar. The 3 Bs, none of those are in the mix. Francisco now trying to run down Brame.
Yeah, Francisco was the fastest car on the racetrack by a full second just about last time by. Look on board, he's able to utilize some of the slipstream, and on top of that, because Brame, of course, Reece Johnson, and of course has had some clean air and was breaking the toe from behind, he was able to set some good lap times, take advantage of some of the clean air at the time, and off and away he goes. He's got a great chance to make this a 3-car battle for this race lead if he can keep up the pace for the next lap or 2.
Remember, there are 2 stops in the ABL this season. Boy, I love that camera shot. Look at him work that wheel. And we're not sure how it's going to be. It could be a long run and then a splash and go, or they could break it up into even thirds. We'll find out how it plays out. This may be a case where we have a true case of early peel, late reveal. With a small field of 15, you can pull off and not have to worry too much about having to deal with lap traffic. Tip of the hat to Vincent Brame. He is all over the back of Alex Johnson. I think you nailed it, Justin, with the tires.
Yeah, those tires are going off. Plus, I think on top of that, Brame knows he had that mistake where Johnson lost the 3 seconds on that spin. This is his chance to try and take the race lead and see himself potentially come away on the top step going into the first pit window. He's got to keep up the pressure, though, without overdriving the car, because he's getting to that range where he's starting to overdrive and just overdrove where he hit the rumble strips.
Sweden, the Netherlands, and Portugal, your top 3 countries out in front. The fastest of those 3 drivers might be Diogo Francisco back there, as he is now. Let's stay on second, because here comes Diogo Francisco. I think he's about to make the pass for second. There it is. Move Portugal up into spot number 2. And now he's got 0.4 of a second to get to the Swede with speed, Alex Johnson. And I don't think it's going to take long to get there. Let's see if he gets there before the pit window opens.
I'm curious of that too right now. If the math is correct, if you say we're to go towards the even strategy game, some drivers might say go 12, 24, etc., knowing that there's now 26 estimated laps to go. However, there's the chance, of course, with these cars being much faster on lesser speeds and fuels, they can go over cut corner, though, by Francisco.
Brame is coming back on him. Look at the distance between the 2. Vincent wants that second spot back. So that puts Francisco back into third position now in the mix with all the killer bees of Bream, Burns, Barbie, and Boutelar. Francisco back in third. That battle continues, though. I do not think Francisco is going to give up the ghost too quick on that one.
The reason Francisco lost that position, he just took too much speed into the corner. Car tried to over-rotate itself in the middle of the apex of the Coca-Cola curb. I think he knows he made a mistake, and he felt like it was probably just a little too quick. I think he might have a chance to get that position back again through the Michelin curb if he times it up, because he is late braking like a madman to the point where he's actually overcooking the corner apex of Dunlop, but he's actually making it work surprisingly by diming it off the corners.
Good racing up front. Here he comes back again. This is where he made the pass before, so we'll go to Sanchinelli. Edgar racing back in what would be 12th position. We'll go now. We'll see what Edgar. He's a fan favorite. We'll take this opportunity to look at what Sanchinelli did.
Yeah, as you can see right now, he was running on his own, but turn one is so difficult because there's a transition there with the elevation. I think he ended up bottoming out on that elevation, spun himself out in front of Neptune. Neptune was able to avoid all of that and gain an air position from that luck on board here. And you'll see more so why with that little bottom out on the second part of the first corner, ends up loping around the car in front.
Whee! Let's come back to third position. Diogo Francisco made a I am Spartacus sacrifice move here, almost got into the back of Vincent Bream, took a horrible racing line so he wouldn't get into the gearbox, lost a ton of time. That brought him right back into the mix of Burns and Barbie and Boutelar.
One thing I want to put you in the minds of the viewers, though, is sometimes you got to think with your head, maybe that, in that case, yeah, it was not a good of a line and ended up losing him some time, yes. But that can help out later on where the driver will remember you giving them space, and they'll potentially give that space back to you in the later stages of the race, knowing you raced them clean. If you try to force it in too early and risk the damage, they'll remember that and race you the same way.
I want to tell the story now of two drivers. We're going to go to 10th position, talk about John Morgan. He races in 10th. He's comfortable. He's got 24 seconds up on Cologne. But more importantly, let's go back to the driver in 14th spot. This is Lance Simon. Remember, these guys are in the battle for the final podium spot on that F2 championship. Simon, last car on the lead lap, but well behind Morgan.
It's been a struggle for Simon, unfortunately for him. He's been struggling, especially in Sector 2, like where the Dunlop curb is, and a lot of these technical corners to the point where he's near being sideways. He's just not been on the pace he needs to be, sometimes 2-3 seconds slower than his fellow competitors. At this point, he's going to need to hope for a little bit of luck to try and hope he can get to that podium spot.
Ooh, the two-dimensional fans here in Germany all putting on a layer of clothing as the clouds come over the track right now. Part of one of iRacing's new features, the dynamic sky. There's our leader, the Swede with speed, Alex Jansson. He was incredibly dominating last season, where he won just about every race he entered. Picking up right where he left off. Great battle, though, going on behind him. Tip of the hat to these guys. Vincent Bream, Diogo Francisco, David Burns. Loic Barbie, try as he might to try to get in there. All right. Rudolph has decided to pit. If they won't let me play in any of the reindeer games, fine, I'll take my ball and go home. And that is what David Boutelar has done. He's made his pit stop. Now he can come out with fresh tires and see if he can run some faster laps than these guys.
A big time difference in speed there, diving underneath Morgan. But the main thing that's going to help Boutelar, though, I want to remind, he went for the undercut strategy, I think, because he knew the drivers in front were really battling very fiercely, and he might actually gain more time having much more clean air because of this undercut move, because the nearest car to him right now is by 6 seconds. He might be able to gain a second or two if he times this up right and is able to get a good hot lap.
Very, very important that Butlar was able to get out ahead of John Morgan so that Morgan didn't slow him down. That said, look at Morgan with some good run. Oh, no. Frederick Neptune has had an issue. He looped the car around. He didn't hit anything, though.
That's the good thing. He didn't hit anything. However, that was a fairly long slide and took, as you can see, about 5, 10, 15 seconds just about to get that car back going and lost him in our spot.
Edgar Sancinelli says, thank you very much. Sancinelli now moves up into 12th. Into the Baker's dozen spot is Frederick Neptune. The battle continues for P2. Vincent Bream, Diogo Francisco. Boy, Francisco wants that spot back after he lost it because of a mistake. Francisco really had visions of running down Janssen. But then when he made the mistake, now he's back in third. That's not happening. Remember, racing these guys is Butlar, David Butlar, who's on the other side of the track right now. Another stop coming in from Franz Josef Stum.
It was actually a longer stop this time here, Sue. A 2 seconds longer stop. In fact, that's going to lose him a bit more time. In fact, put him back behind John Morgan now and just in front of Cologne. However, they're the first two to come in. Neptune also coming in after his mistake just into the stalls right in the next few moments. And another one's in the grass. I think the car we were just looking at there too, wasn't that Stum who just came out of the pits that nearly went off into the grass, if I was looking at that right? Yes,
yeah,
it was.
That might have been.
It was. He did go off in the grass and lost time, losing the spot to Cologne. In fact, he is back going. Neptune also back going.
We go back to P2. Now, all you little soldiers in Soup's clipboard army, I'm going to give you a number. We are at 38 minutes of racing to go. Vincent Bream has 33 seconds on David Butlar. Why do we care about Butlar? Because he's trying the undercut right now. So keep that in mind. We'll see when these guys start to pit. Not sure if Butlar is going to be able to get Bream, but maybe he can undercut Francisco or Burns or Barbie.
Lap time is definitely something I'm keeping an eye on to see how he did on that first full lap out of the pits. A full second quicker compared to the drivers we're looking at on your screen. That is going to help.
Remember, we talked about Butlar. He came out ahead of John Morgan. Well, Morgan could not stay with him. He's left him long. We got, see you later, boy. Like you're a skater, boy, says David Butlar. I'll tell you, though, Alex Johnson, man, he's something else. Out there cooking with hot fish grease is the Swede with speed. Up by 3.5 seconds now on Vincent Bream. We ride on board with Johnson. Looking ahead at nothing. That's right. Clear track ahead of him.
It's going to be calling for a driver, of course, not having to worry about the traffic from behind, able to pull away from the battles for second, and also have nothing to deal with in terms of lap traffic for the time being. A long race, in fact.
Pit stop time. Look at those beautiful puffy clouds there. One of them looks like a bunny. Here comes Johnson for a stop.
So he's going to pit underneath the bunny cloud, but this is going to bring on a lot of the leaders. One car, it looked like, stayed out. It is Barbie that is attempting the overcut as well as David Burns and Bream. There is an advantage for the drivers that stayed out compared to these guys, though. You can take less fuel and be faster on fresher tires. That is what they're counting on by trying to stretch and overcut, especially to time it up for the second stop of this race.
Butlar out of the final corner now. He won't get Johnson. The question is, will he get Burns? Burns is out on track. Nope, that's not going to happen. Barbie is out as well, so the hopes of the undercut did not work for Butlar. That's because Butlar, with his undercut strategy, was really not all that fast in pit lane. You need the best of both worlds, so you have to be fast in the pits and fast on the track as well.
Yeah, he was around the same length as everybody in the stalls. However, he was up to half a second slower than everybody else in the lane itself. With the 29-second time in the lane plus, still, he's a bit struggling actually on those older tires at the moment to keep up with those drivers. But we still have the 3 drivers who stayed out.
Third-degree burns. David in car number 125 just had a spin. Nobody got into him. It happened right. It might be fun to look at this one in the point of view of Loic Barbie, who had to make a decision to go right or left on this one. Here we go. Burns, who was racing in 4th at the time. And there's Barbie behind. First, we'll look at it from above. There's the spin, and Barbie decides, oh, luckily that car didn't roll off into him. And now we'll ride on board with Barbie, who has decided to make his pit stop right now as we make that decision. There you go. Bream is also in. Okay. Janssen has yet to come around. He's coming around the final corner now. He will inherit the lead back, re-inherit the lead. Bream sits. Barbie sits. Burns has spun. So Francisco will go by. And he gets it in 2nd.
Boulwar might actually pass by Burns because of that spin. He's also able to pass by Barbie. In fact, Boulwar is, and going to be side by side with Bream as you see Burns coming out.
You'll have a little bit of momentum here. Bream on new tires might be cold. Boudoular's going to try to take it if he can, but a little bit of advantage for Boudoular with that early stop. He did get the best of Barbie, and of course Burns had the spin, so it worked out okay for the French driver.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing how much that worked out even with the spin.
Yeah.
And because in a lot of races, that usually goes the opposite way in terms of your luck. And now he's got the luck of some of his fastest competitors stuck behind. However, the one thing he has to worry about, Francisco is way ahead of Bream and Boudoular now because he took only a 5-second pit stop. The reason Bream is all the way back, he took an 11-second pit stop. And is why he's by Boudoular now.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I thought Vincent was in there for a long time. Now remember, this is a 2-stop race, so the times we are seeing doesn't necessarily mean that the drivers filled it up all the way. They may have short-filled, and that means it's a pay me now, pay me later type thing. They may have to take a longer stop later. Maybe Vincent Bream can do a splash and go. Maybe he filled it all the way up to the top, and he'll run really close to the checker flag. We'll find out. Everybody has made their scheduled pit stop, so with that, why don't we run through the field? Let's alternate. I'll take the odd ones. You take the evens ones, Justin. I'll start with our leader, Alex Janssen. Out in front, he started on the pole. He won't go wire to wire as he lost the lead during the pit window, but right now, comfortably ahead of the man that Justin's going to talk about.
Yes, indeed. Right now, of course, you talked about Janssen, but Francisco, I should say, has been running in that second position, trying to reel him back in after the spins by Janssen so far. Francisco currently running the fastest laps on the track by a tenth of a second each time by right now, and has to try and close a 4-second gap to Janssen at the moment. Then, of course, you had that battle going on with Bream and Boudoular we talked about because of the longer stop by Bream, with Boudoular on the undercut strategy on older tires at the moment. Of course, you have Barbie that is also looking fairly okay on the same strategy. He's still 14 seconds back of the overall race lead and 4 seconds for the next car. For those wondering what happened to David Burns after his spin, he fell all the way back to 6th, 16 plus seconds behind the race lead.
Behind Burns, we got Fabian Youngblood. Oh, and a spin behind him of Frederick Neptune. Now, Neptune was not actually in position. Let's stay in Neptune as he wallets the wall with a wallop. Let's see if we can get a look at Frederick Neptune here. He's a fan favorite. We'll take a look at this one. He is racing in 14th. He is actually the last car out there racing. So, because people love Frederick Neptune, and honestly, it is one of my favorite planets too. A beautiful planet. Loses it here. I've got it. Nope, I don't have it. And then there's the wall. Boy, it's hard to woe it up. All right, let's continue our run through the field. We come back live. Let's return back with Fabian Youngbluth racing in 7th position. He's got 2 seconds to get up to Burns. That's not going to happen. He's got 24 seconds back to Ludwig Sauer. Sauer, your leader in the F2 championship. That looks to be secure. About 8 seconds up on FJS. That is Franz Josef Stum. Racing in the number 34 machine. Up a spot from where he qualified. Mr. Clean, John Morgan. Boy, he looks to be safe for that final podium spot in the F2 Championship as he is well ahead of Lance Simon. Oh, as I say that, he spins it. Come on, John, get it going, Mr. Clean. That's going to cost him a few points, and there's a few more for getting out on the grass. He gets it going. Luckily, he had 28 seconds of cushion back to Ricard Colomb. My goodness, John Morgan makes one mistake the entire race. We have him on screen for like 15 seconds. We happen to be on him right when he does it. Ricard Colomb in 11th position, the veteran of the series, racing where he gridded up. Edgar Sancinelli. If you're a fan of Edgar Sancinelli, make sure you tune in for the All-Star race. He is the traditional pace car driver for that one, as they have a live driver for that. Oh, no! I've done it again! Oh! Okay. I'm not going to go to Lance Simon because I don't want to curse him. All right. Jeez.
Both in the NGK chicane, both of them ended up actually going over the rumble strips and possibly damaging the under tray. There is commentators cursing, and there's commentators, what is that? Broken mirror?
I got my mojo working, baby. Holy moly. Call me the Red Woman, light the swords. Vincent Bream and David Butlar. How about that? A reference from just 7 days ago. Spoiler alert.
I don't know where the reference is, so I'm probably going to get spoiled. Butlar, though, you can tell how much he's struggling with the older tires. Is now 4/10 off the pace of Bream. Let's take a look at a quick replay, though, because there was a mistake on that said lap in part Y. It's at 4/10 of a second difference. Take a look.
There we go.
That doesn't look pretty. He's fighting this car. Yeah, you see how much that steering wheel's moving? Those older tires are causing him to really have to fight on every corner exit, because the older the tires get, the more you have to be more careful off the throttle, because it's so easy to spin out in the F3 car if you just go flat on a corner exit. You kind of have to baby it, like have an egg underneath the gas pedal, and if you break that egg, you end up nearly losing the car or end up destroying said car by flying into a tire barrier.
This being Easter, we had an Easter egg hunt at my house the other day. And actually, we hid one Easter. We hid an egg under the gas pedal. Oh, Lance Simon has a spin.
Should have mentioned.
I was just about to talk about him, too, for doing a good job of getting out of the way of lap traffic. My goodness, Lance.
You should have just shown him during the rundown of the grid at the moment, because he spun out either way. This is why here, look on board. Yeah. He's been having a struggle today, and the reason why he spun out over the corner going through Michelin curb, and it's for the second time we've seen a car just take too much speed, snap hard towards the left. This time, he snaps to the grass instead of the middle of the track.
Who are the top drivers as far as clean drivers go? It's John Morgan and Lance Simon, and we've seen them both spin today.
Oh, and Bream's just spun out. Just did a 360 and lost 2 spots in a battle with Francisco for position.
Yeah, I believe that was a Butlar that got around him. He was in that battle, and then it's a battle of the killer bees. So Bream spins. He loses spots to his fellow beers of Butlar and Barbie. There it is. So you can see those drivers go around. We'll look one more time.
Yeah, you'll see it right on the corner entry, basically. He's on his own, looking okay, but then there's that transition, a little hop right there. You see it there. Picks up the suspension, bam, brings it back down. Once the suspension bottoms out, you can spin out just like that, and ends up losing 2 spots in the process because of how low he took the corner, and that led to the bottom out.
But that camera angle really shows you how diabolical that corner really is with that dip there. Gets the car really light. We are back live now on Loic Barbie, racing in fourth. Does he have any chance to get to the driver up in front? I don't know. Boutelar is up there by about 4 seconds. What a great run from David Boutelar. Made that early stop. Everything has fallen his way. Now in a podium spot. There's Boutelar.
He hasn't really made any mistakes either this entire race. The estimated incident's only about 5 on the day today. And even with the old tires, while he's not as quick and struggling a little bit on some of the corner exits, he's just been able to keep the car clean and try and make this strategy work. I'm curious how the second pit stop's going to go. There's still an estimated 14 laps to go. So technically he is in that fuel window, but as talked about, a lot of those drivers might push it towards near empty in the tank.
Yeah, we're past the halfway mark. I really think this is probably in the window. If you wanted to come in again, you could probably get there.
Yeah, but I don't see anyone going for that because it would be a heavier car, and the lighter these cars are with the less amount of fuel, the faster you can go sometimes. It's the difference of a few seconds in why some drivers have their fastest lap times in Formula 1 real life, and as well in these cars in the F3s, at the end of a race rather than at the start.
That's a great point. You want to have the car as light as possible for the most laps as possible. Round number 7. Season 16 of the Absolute Beginner League Formula. Neagle GSRC has been here for many a season and has crowned many a champions. We won't be, I guess, technically crowning a champion this race as we did that last round as David Burns locked it up, but we are here for one more final event. There's Vincent Bream.
Since that spin, he lost 6 seconds total from the spin. And as talked about the last time we've seen a major spin, at the risk of overcooking the tires, it takes at least 2-3 laps alone just to get your tires towards a normal rate. Not even factoring in how much you burn up those said tires from doing so, and it's why you see that different line where he's trying to baby it towards the entries, diving off in the apexes, and then take the exits wide, like a little bit to try and help cool it down and not be too aggressive. He was actually just 3/10 slower that time than the following man you've been following along with in Burns. Although we have a car on the inside wall, pardon me, Santarelli is on the inside, just on in the backdrop. Santarelli, my goodness.
Is Barbie, Bream, and Burns. The 3 Bs go by. Santarelli keeps it there. Young Bluth goes by as well. And now Edgar brings it back out onto the track. Let's finish it up on the pavement this race. Edgar, let's finish the season on the track if we can. Follow up on Edgar Santarelli. I don't know if I mentioned it. He is the designated pace car driver in the All-Star race. Notorious for his ability to flip the pace car. Something you don't want to miss. That'll be coming up in a couple weeks.
How exactly do you flip a pace car?
That's why you want to tune in. See, that's what you call a little bit of a teaser there. Barbie, Bream, Burns. Ahead of them, Boutelar. All the Bs put together.
Yeah, that's a stretch of about 4 straight drivers with the last name starting with the letter B. And Boutelar still got that 4-second advantage because of all the mistakes by everybody else around them. But as we've been discussing, Bream has been able to, I think, start to cool down a little bit of those tires to gain some pace back all of a sudden and catch up now to Barbie. And this is going to help him potentially get to where he needs to be to have a chance at the podium. This time by the stripe, he recovers to a 1:49.6. That is nearly 6/10 quicker, just about, than the driver he's chasing, and he's in the slipstream.
Indeed, we continue to look at all those. Look at all the Bs. Boutelar, Barbie, Bream, and Burns. Former NASCAR driver Buddy Baker was going to enter this race, but unfortunately he died several decades ago, so that wasn't able to happen, but would have been nice to have him here.
Talk about Burns real quick. David Burns, while of course you talked about him being such a good driver, of course being already securing the championship, a lot of drivers in some of these cases might say, you know what, I'm just going to just go on, start the race, starting park, seen in a couple of different series. For him, he wants to win. You can see how much he's pushing. He's one of the fastest cars on the racetrack and is saying, I mean, if I didn't make a mistake, I'd probably be up in the top 5 or even up in a podium spot right now. He's not bending over or giving up in this race. He wants to try and finish off as strong as he has been all year.
We still have 11 cars out there. Well, let me correct myself. 13 cars still racing. 11 on the lead lap. Only 2 retirees, Frederick Neptune and Wojciech Podacek.
The unfortunate thing for Podacek was it was for technical issues and ended up not coming back on the racetrack after dealing with said technical issues. Unfortunate for him.
Right.
For the rest of the racers, nice and clean. No incidents, no more than 1 car incident. Boudoir, though, is in the pits.
All right, must be time for... Remember, he made that early stop last time, so he's going to be first in again. Meanwhile, this is a great battle we look at right here. And there's... goes up on the jacks. Meanwhile, Brame continues to close in on Barbie.
This is a heck of a pace with these drivers, but as seen, the undercut window is opened up. Now it's the question of, do we see someone like Breen decide to do it to get away from Barbie? I'm curious to see if he does it. However, he might be able to just do it on raw pace alone in the next lap or 2 if he times it up. However, he's starting to back off a little bit and try and time up these slipstreams, I think, to maybe towards the Michelin curve somewhere. Some of the drivers have been really most comfortable at attacking today.
Coming at you. Now, again, there are pit stops, so maybe Bream can say, you know what, I'll just wait and try to do it there. I don't need to force the action, although they both like to be first down pit lane. We'll see how this plays out. Best battle on the track, so we jumped you around a lot this race. Why don't we take a second and just stay on this, and we get to enjoy a little bit of racing.
Yeah, this is going to show a great example of the speed down here alone with the slipstream. Bream able to pick up a difference of 3-4 miles per hour by the corner entry. And you can see, though, he is starting to struggle in some of these corner entries in the NGK chicane. Barbie's saying he's going to go undercut, while Bream is going to try and push it longer. Remember, Bream was one of the longest running cars on the track. He nearly turned it straight to the sand.
Boy, he sure did off of that final corner. Now, in my opinion, this is going to work out for Vincent, because I think Vincent was faster than Barbie there. So, would not surprise me if he doesn't end up being able to get the lead here.
It's a possibility, however, though, it's going to be difficult to make up 18 seconds, even on a pit stop window.
Yeah, well, I wasn't talking so much the lead, but I was, as far as between those two drivers coming into it, what I really meant.
I get what you're saying now. Yes, this is a good... this is actually a great chance, because I think he was able to recover some of the pace he had after the spin. It was actually still faster than Barbie for the pit stop.
Yeah.
He's off and away.
All right, so he is out. So now we'll focus our attention on Brame, who will come in sometime here. Leaders of all the cars who have pitted, whereas we're looking at Vincent Brame, is David Boutellard.
We're seeing at least one car come down in the past few seconds here. I would be a little surprised to see him come down now. Maybe I see him come down in a lap or 2. But there is an estimated 9 laps to go for the drivers with 16 minutes on the clock. Anything can happen to try and have the best strategy for the race today.
Remember, Janssen came in relatively early compared to the drives he was racing as well, so wouldn't be surprised to see him come in soon. He's coming across working lap number 25 now. On board with the Swede with speed. Who's he looking at up there? That is Ricard Colomb. Colomb, a veteran of the... He's just going to pull over. Hey, at the next Backmarker United meeting, let's go ahead and make sure that we give Colomb a comfortable seat up front, guys.
Yeah, he got a near stop, actually, trying to let him bomb by. And now he's struggling a little bit all of a sudden. He hooked straight to the left. He's struggling with the cold racetrack. You see the clouds? Track
Yep.
temp has dropped about 10-15 degrees in the past 3 minutes.
All the German Fräuleins putting on a sweater right now as it got much colder.
And in some series, yes, that would be a great thing. Unfortunately for the cars that might have been set up towards hot temperatures, it looks like at least for Colombi, he is struggling to maintain the corners, and it's making him very tight on the track and making him overrun the corners. Compare that to Janssen, he's still able to stick to the lines he's been wanting to do even despite the temperature drop already. That's 79 from a starting race temp of 95-ish.
We're looking here at Boutelar. Racing all by himself up in 6th position. Let's drop back a couple spots. I want to talk about Ludwig Sauer. He hasn't got a lot of screen time today. We've talked about how well David Third Degree Burns has done with winning the championship. Sauer kind of suffering from a little Buzz Aldrin syndrome here. Nobody remembers who is second. He has had a great championship. A great drop from Ludwig Sauer.
Pretty good run for him as he's kept it clean. He's had a quiet day. Yes, he's one of the drivers that have kept it the cleanest all day overall, though, too. Just estimated 7 incident points with his run. He hasn't had the best of paces, yes. As in the 149 is the fastest lap. But there's a chance he can jump some people. Cars are in. Francisco coming in and out, as well as Morgan.
Morgan is out. He's going to not race on the lead lap anymore, I don't believe. All right, now here comes Francisco coming out with no challenge from anybody. What's interesting this time is he pitted before Janssen did. Last time in the first stop, Janssen was early in.
I think he's trying to try again the undercut strategy to try and get the fresher tires, knowing that he's going to need as much time open air as he can to have a chance for this race lead. The problem is, though, Janssen on the strategy, he's going to have the least amount of fuel.
Burns cycles out right behind Boutelar and ahead of Barbie. The real question is Vincent Brame. Remember, Brame was in that battle, and he decided to stay out. It's interesting to see where Brame slots when it's time to go. He's racing in second right now. He's certainly going to lose a spot to Francisco, who's pitted. It's got to be pit stop time pretty soon. Let's go ahead and watch Vincent race a little bit as he heads down into this final chicane, a little left-righter here. Careful not to bounce it over the curbs. There you go. We've seen several cars spin there. Now back on the throttle, heading to, I don't think it's called Coca-Cola anymore. I sure hope not. I don't like corners named after sponsors. Is he going to pit? He is not going to pit. Hey, we're going to get ourselves a new leader here. Maybe, as Janssen finds his stall. New leader, Vincent Brame. Stay out there, Vincent. Stop this thing.
He did have that very long stop. One of the few drivers that did have that to fill up as much as possible. The thing is, Janssen is also going to have the least amount of fuel just about in the entire field. 5.2 seconds was the stop for him. Francisco had a 4.9, and Youngblood is also in and still in the pit stalls as the last of the drivers outside of Sauer, I should say, and Brame that both have to have an estimated one more stop that are on the lead lap.
There we go. We see Fabian coming out. And here's the man we talked about, Ludwig Sauer. Second in the points. Comfortably in second. He will finish in second. I'm going to take a shot. I haven't taken a shot at a car color yet today. Let's take a shot. I'm going to call that baby a nice medium blue. Waiting for confirmation from the director on that one. Hey!
Yeah.
Soup 1 for 1 with his colors today. I'm inspired now. I'm going to try a harder one.
It looks like normal blue to me, but
Okay.
it's correct either way.
I'm in the family. That's all that matters. All right, we are still waiting for Vincent Brame to make a stop. All right, well, that's a fun one. This one will give me trouble. That one's either going to be yellow or green. I'm going to take a stop. Don't tell me. That one is yellow. Oh, it is
green.
Yeah. Citrus flavored. I got to stick with the citrus flavored car, and I know I'll get it right every time. Here he comes. So now, what we want to do is pick up the drivers that he was racing with. Boutelar will be first. Now, Boutelar out of the final corner, crossing the start-finish line. Breme is still sitting there. Now Breme is rolling. Here comes Boutelar. Boutelar gets him. But Burns will not.
This gets him right next to Boutelar, though, to still have a chance to pass on back with if he can take advantage of the fresher tires. There's Francisco, when he came out, was still 4/10 quicker than Boutelar, and Breme has shown the pace all day to make it work. They may be about 18 seconds back of the lead, yes, but there is still a chance to secure the final spot on the podium of the season right here for a third spot. This is going to be a battle right to the end with an estimated 5.5 laps to go.
Good racing going on. Soup continues to have fun with the alphabet. You have David Boutelar, Vincent Breme, another B, David Burns, another B, Loic Barbie, another B, and Fabian Young Bluth, another B. See how I did that there?
I see.
I'm reaching for that one.
Yeah, you're reaching to the second syllable of Youngblood, but it works somewhat. Yeah. Somewhere. So race cars. 812 to work with on the time. But right now, if I'm looking at this right too, it's going to be a very tight battle potentially. Some cars between that third position we're just showing with Boutelar and Breme, they also have Burns and Barbie that are bunched up in the same sector about 7 seconds away from this. And on top of that, you got Francisco that is just 2.6 seconds behind the man we're on board with in Janssen. That has been leading a majority of the day. That might potentially change if Francisco can get some great laps because they're at the exact same pace at the exact same time right now, with Francisco taking a slight bit less fuel, in fact, to try and be a little bit faster than Janssen.
Yeah, I got to admit, I got to give Diego Francisco some credit for making this competitive. What he's done, even though he's really not in the hunt right now, but 2.3 seconds back, what that does is that means Alec Janssen, if he decides to have another one of his pirouettes that he did earlier, Francisco's close enough now that he will lose the lead. So remember, Janssen is not immune to making a mistake. We've seen it happen before, earlier in the race. Right on board with Diogo.
He's taking these corners way too hard for my liking, but I feel like he's getting a bit more comfortable to take those. He's actually running on the curbs in some of them, and that's why in some cases he's been able to get a 10th. The problem is, if there's one curve that he takes too long, he might be losing that time all the way back in this late going. This track now at freezing cold 72 degrees.
He is coming. Hunting them down. Da-da, baby shark, do-do-do-do-do-do. Francisco on the move.
And as though Janssen much stronger the last time through the NGK chicane that time, Francisco lost some of the time. He lost, in fact, 3 of the 10ths he had gained that lap. While he was the fastest car, he could have been even closer if he was able to take the NGK chicane like Janssen has been all day long.
Sadly, there are only 9 drivers on the lead lap. The first one lap down. Mr. Clean, John Morgan. The good news is for Morgan, though, he's ahead of Lance Simon. He's going to have that spot comfortably for the podium of the F2 championship. Take a quick look because Morgan also sits on the was on the top 5 overlay as well. Let me take a quick peek at that and see. I think he's safe for that one as well. That would be nice for John Morgan to be in the top 5 on his debut season. Good going, John. Way to represent the stars and stripes.
Yeah, basically, Jan Bloof was the only driver in the top 10 that's a part of today's race outside of Bream that was within range, really. 48 points coming in for Jan Bloof into today's race. Morgan, as seen at the top of the broadcast, 68. I think he is in that perfect space to try and secure that for a top 5 overall season finish for Team Attrition. In the driver stands, I should say.
Simon making his final stop. We hope, for his sake. Justin, you're from Canada. Does the Canadian flag have a nickname? Is there something you guys call it other than the Canadian flag?
That's an interesting question.
No?
Honestly, not that I can think of, honestly, off the top of my head that I learned in school. Okay. Just the maple leaf is really the only thing I could think of because the flag, maple leaf on the flag, that's not important.
Right.
Let's go to race cars.
I'm this villain, baby. Janssen, how's that gap holding? 2.7, and he goes purple. No purple in the Canadian flag, but he is purple here, Alex Janssen. No purple in the Swedish flag either.
Fastest lap of the race, as talked about. The less fuel you have, the faster you go. That was the case for him, where he's 2/10 quicker than Francisco. And Francisco's starting to actually struggle now on his corner exits because of how much I think he's been pushing. He's starting to heat them up, starting to lose some ground to the man in the car that's been leading all day in that number 96. Francisco, the more he takes these corners aggressively, I think the more those tires are going to heat up, and the more it's going to end up burning them and take away any sort of speed that's left in them.
He's just back there in the mirrors of Janssen, just close enough to make sure Alec cannot make a mistake. I tell you though, Janssen he's got a little bit of Bjorn Borg blood in him there. He's a cool customer. We ride on board with the defending champion. He's going to give up the championship. But look how smooth he is. Once again, that German sky looking so friendly now as the clouds have cleared. The track is nice and sunny. Whee! Oh, he's still working the wheel. My gosh. My gosh. I guess for Janssen that's no big deal, but for me it takes my breath away. 2 to go.
Now a clean one there too to help his case here with the estimated 2 to go. Gained a full second and a half because Francisco really struggled again on the NGK chicane to the point where he almost lost the car and had to slow down a lot. So, as long as he doesn't make any mistakes, Janssen's in a great position with about a lap and 3/4 to go.
The final round of Season 16 here on the Global SimRacing Channel, stream in cyberspace into your place via the iRacing Esports Network. We're glad you're here with us as we wrap up the season. Now this is Burns. Now he's got Ricard Colomb ahead of him. He's got a real chance to get to his partner in Colomb. That's a good job, I guess, at getting out of the way. Maybe took a little bit of Burns' breath away there. Those are two stupid dogs right now. Now, that's not being critical or being, that's the name of their team.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hate that. Man, I have the same problem when I do dirt racing, and I have to say that they're midgets, since this seems politically incorrect, but I think everyone understands.
Yeah. To the racing, though, with the two teammates, though, you are right in terms of how much he's been gaining some of the time. David Burns ran faster by about a 4/10 of a second compared to Bream last time. Has been gaining a few tenths each and every lap, and there's a car in the grass as they're passing by. It's John Morgan.
No! Johnny, but he doesn't hit anything. John Morgan, ruining his reputation here of being Mr. Clean. And that's why Lance Simon was just out there putting in laps so that he maybe had a chance of it, but Simon will not get to Morgan. Morgan's position is safe. He loses spots. I think he loses one to Ricard Colomb. Meanwhile, the flagman has reached into his bag of tricks and pulled out one. He's waving the flag that has no pigment right now. Alex Janssen on the white flag lap. Coming down into corner number 6, going into the Ford curve. That'll be the right-hander here. Just a few more to go. He's not going to win the championship this year, but he is back again, like John Milner in American Graffiti, to show that he is still the car to beat. Down into Dunlop. We're going to stay with him all the way to the end here as he goes through 9, which is really not much. It's a little bit of a left-hander here. 10 is really nothing. That's this little right-hander. Down into the 90-degree corner that is 11. Then into the corner named after me, Bilstein. Back on the throttle. Looking at the last chicane, the left-right combo. They call it 14. Seems like it should be 14 and 15, but he negotiates that, stays off the curb. The Swede with speed with one more corner to go. He takes a sip through Coca-Cola. Nothing but the checker flag in front of him. The final round of season 16 goes to Alec Janssen in the Absolute Beginner Formula Eagle. Hugo Francisco, try as he might, will have to settle for second. David Boutlar, though, had the race of the day. Pitted early. Did the early peel, late reveal, and he's going to pick up the podium spot ahead of Vincent Bream. In 5th, our championship, David Burns, our season 16 champion. Another B from Loic Barbie. The other drivers finishing out the lead lap, Fabian Youngbluth and Ludwig Sauer. Sauer will get second in points. Congratulations to him. With that, the racing is over here in Germany, but you know how this works. Our broadcast is far from done. We're going to take a short break. We'll come back to run down the official finishing order, talk to some of the drivers, before we put a lock on the Season 16 gate for the final time. You're watching GSRC on IESN. Sanctioned by the Absolute Beginner League and streaming your way via the iRacing Esports Network, this is the Global SimRacing Channel's final round coverage of the Absolute Beginner League's Formula Neagle Season 16 Championship. The final event, the grand finale. The results are in. Let's give them to you right now. He won last season. He is back to show that he is still the man, even though he doesn't get the championship. That's the Swede with speed. Alex Jansson on the pole gets the win. It was not wire to wire, but it was virtually wire to wire. Trying to make him work for it was the guy from Portugal, Diogo Francisco. He finishes in second. The drive of the race, though, goes to David Butelaar, up 4 spots from 7th to get that final podium spot. Vincent Bream and David Third Degree Burns, the 2 stupid dogs, go in 4th and 5th. 6th, 7th, and 8th, and that's where I'll stop it. Loic Barbie, Fabian Youngbluth, and Ludwig Sauer, the last car on the lead lap. Justin?
Franz Josef Sturm. The reason why he is in P number 9, he was on the lead lap at one point. He had to take an extra pit stop coming to the white flag. He fell a lap down and finished off in 9th as a result. Ricard Colomb finished off in 10th position today to round out the top 10, with John Morgan after his spin losing 1 spot and dropping to the 11th position on the finishing order. Edgar Sancinelli finished off in 12th today. With the first car 2 laps down was Lance Simon. There were 2 DNFs today. Frederick Neptune, after his couple spins, finished 19 laps down. And as mentioned at the top, Wojtek Potacek, finished off as a DNF 33 laps down, did not make it on the racetrack due to technical issues before the start of the race.
That's too bad. We wanted to see Wojtek race with us. But we did get to see the Swede with speed race, Alex Jansson. We have him now, our race winner. Alex, one of the prettiest 360 spins I've ever seen. That was really well done.
I wouldn't call it the prettiest, but it was, it did cost a little bit of time, but it was all right, I guess. It was a stupid mistake, though.
It made it interesting. It brought those guys back in, gave them a glimmer of hope to run you down. You didn't race with us much this season. I know you were working on a new set of pedals or something. How's that coming along? Are those done, or are you still working on them?
Yep, done and dusted. I posted some pictures here earlier, I think.
Outstanding. They're in the general chat here, so we can go ahead and take a look at those. You like the way they feel?
Feels lovely, especially after you win.
Way to break them in. Well, that was a good one. Francisco gave you a bit of a challenge back there. He was back a couple seconds, at least making you stay honest out there. One more mistake, and he would have been.
Definitely. After the last pit stop, he was very fast. I think he had a little bit more speed than me in the end, but I tried to do as little mistakes as possible, and it worked out. It was very close, though, and he did a very good.
I'm not skilled enough to really appreciate the difference between the track temperatures. You guys are. When the track cools down, there were some times where it got really cloudy. Can you feel that in the car other than just seeing that it's darker? Do you actually feel it in the race when the clouds come over?
Definitely. The F3 is very sensitive on temperature. I don't know. I think it's the tires, but so when we had in practice, we had quite cold. I think we went from 40 degrees to 26, and we dropped the times with about a second. And the car feels much more stable when it's cold.
Well, it was great to see you do what you do. You came back. We haven't seen much of you, but you finish off this season the way that you dominated last season. Congratulations on the win. Way to go. We look to see you race again soon.
Hopefully another season in ABL. We'll see, but that's the plan at least.
Hey, if not there, GSRC has lots of broadcast series, so look for us and try to find one that fits for your schedule. See you down the road.
Yeah, thanks to my team, and thanks to you guys before I leave.
No problem. Alex Jansson, your race winner today. Justin, who you got?
I have Diogo Francisco, who came away in second, 2.8 seconds back in the second position today, and was actually having comparable speed at majority of the day to Alex Jansson. Diego, how was the car today, and how difficult was it to try and keep up towards the front and make some of the passes you did starting off from 6th on the grid?
Yeah, the qualifying didn't help, but I was able to go up the field, thankfully. And luckily, all my passes were very low risk, which was very fortunate for me. But in the end, Alex was just faster. He was very consistent and fast.
Why do you feel that is compared to how you were driving the racetrack? Because it looked like you're actually cut towards the point where you're cutting some of the curbs, or running across the curbs rather, to try and pick up any time you could. You were gaining some tenths up until the NGK chicane towards 3 laps to go.
Yeah, it's all about those few tenths. I was catching him, but then I did some weird mistakes. I was really overdriving the car, I feel, and Alex was just more consistent. He was the better driver today. If I could keep my laps clean, I think I could have done something, especially when he had that little problem and we caught up to him. But yeah, it was just far too consistent for me.
Of course, the track temp also crashed towards the low 70s at one point, especially in that just around the second pit stops of the day. How much did that change how the car was driving for you, of course, with the times going about a second quicker because of the colder track?
Yeah, it's very clear when you notice that the track is going cooler. You just get that little more grip on the rear when you're exiting the corners, and it really makes all the difference in terms of confidence. And even on the braking zones, you really feel like you can push it that little bit more. Sometimes you just push it a little bit too much, and yeah, you don't follow the track as fast as it's progressing. But yeah, you definitely feel the changes. And here we had a lot of temperature changes on the track.
Indeed, today there was a ton of them today with the mostly cloudy skies and some crazy ones, in fact, minus near 20 degrees Fahrenheit from the drop of the green flag. But now, of course, the season is all done for season 16. Do you plan to come back for season 17? And if so, what do you plan to do differently to try and attack these kind of racetracks to try and break into victory circle?
Well, I'm not sure if I'll be coming back because I've actually been away for a while. But today I was able to make it for the race. But it's a race by race decision. Unfortunately I don't have as much availability to race these as I want. So well, whenever I can, I show up.
The good thing is, though, today you showed up and got a second. Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you get going here today?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my team, TT Racing, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Everyone that's competing, everyone that's running this league. It's really a nice gang and a nice close group of people.
Thank you very much for coming into the broadcast booth today. Congratulations on the second place finish.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Justin.
I think that says a lot to what the Absolute Beginner League is all about and how it started. Let's go ahead and quote Francisco there. It's a nice gang of people, and I think that's what they're really looking for, as well as the top tier competition. They're looking for a friendly environment, and that's what they're trying to get back to. Okay, that's going to wrap up our broadcast almost, except for all the people we need to thank. So stick with us because this is important, especially when the commentator coughs. Let's go ahead and thanks everybody at the Absolute Beginner League and for organizing Formula Neagle and contracting with GSRC to broadcast it. Thanks to the company's equipment or software that you see on the screen right now that we use on the show. The original music that gives every GSRC broadcast that unique flavor and feel. That's thanks to June Lalonde. See the screen to how to get a hold of her stuff. Formula Neagle. Well, we've wrapped up our contract for broadcasting season 16. We hope to be back for season 17. But remember, there is an all-star race that will be coming up in a little while. You want to know when that is? Well, sliding across your screen now are just some of the upcoming broadcasts, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But here's when you find out when the ABL All-Star Race will be and what time it comes on. Go to globalsimracingchannel.com. Hey, if you can't do that, we have other options. Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. And while you're here, well, you're not here, but if you haven't done so yet, become a YouTube subscriber by heading over to our YouTube page and hitting that big red button. Finally, on behalf of the entire crew, that would be Justin, Sean, and Dougie, I'd like to thank all of you for watching as we watch Alec Janssen pick up the win, David Burns conclude his championship, and Ludwig Sauer pick up the F2 championship. With that said, we're off to have fun storming the castle. So until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.